What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Blossom Podcast. We just concluded an awesome Facebook Live with Tabitha Johnson, the BariBoss, in our private Facebook group for Blossom. We had a bunch of questions that were sent in that tailored to the psychological aspect of weight loss surgery and nutrition. We're talking about plateaus, head hunger, stress management, cross addiction, barriers and boundaries with family and friends, and there's just a ton of knowledge bombs. So I pulled the audio from that, and I hope you guys enjoy this conversation, and I'll get to it. Hit them with the intro.
This is another episode of the Blossom Podcast, your number one source for everything bariatric surgery, from pre-op to post-op. Registered dietitian Alex Conception gives you real, raw tips and motivation through your journey. This is the Blossom Podcast.
All right, can you guys hear me? Can I get a yes? All right, cool. So, today, we are here with Tabitha Johnson, the BariBoss. You know who she is. She has been a patient at Blossom, down how many pounds?
100 pounds, and I just hit my 5-year surgery.
Congratulations. The Blossom-versary, 5 years, 100 pounds, and you've kept it off. And I'm sure a lot of the maintenance and the control to get there has a lot to do mentally.
Oh, yes.
Not just physically.
That's right.
Remember, this is not an absolute solution. It is a tool, and another tool, right, is right here.
The mind.
Exactly. So we're going to be talking about that today. We have, we asked you guys some questions in the group, and we just kind of took those, a bunch of the main questions, and we're going to discuss that here today. Now, I will be using this audio for the podcast as well. So you can hear this at the podcast. That way, anybody who chimes in or would like to ask a question, or if we do address it, it will just be first name. We're not going to say anything to, mess with the integrity of this private Facebook group, but we do want to get that information out there. So that's how we'll be chatting. Now, just a couple of notes to mention. If you guys have questions, you can always reach out via telephone, 702-463-3300. You can always email us, and you'll find links all through blossom.com or blossombariatrics.com. You can also email the nutrition department, nutrition@blossom.com, and you have a ton of resources. Don't forget to use your dashboard. If you go to blossom.com, on the top right, you have your dash, you have your username and password, and all the resources that we provide that are YouTube videos, a podcast, the Blossom binder. It is all in there, even resources to reach Tabitha. And yeah, it's all there for you. Tabitha, any notes? How do people reach you? Just as we're talking about this.
So I believe from Blossom, it's blossombariatrics.com/BariBoss. That's probably the best way to reach me. You can also instant message me in the Facebook group. I am under Tabitha BariBoss.
Yes, there you have it. Now, I want to talk about Tabitha for a second. So she's gone through so many steps and phases through this journey, and she is crushing it. What is your background in terms of mental health?
Great question. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor in the state of Nevada. And then I became a health and life coach, certified health and life coach post bariatric surgery.
All right. So, and the post bariatric surgery, so the life coaching, it kind of ties in to your counseling as well as weight management. Correct.
Right, so I kind of, the way that I differentiate between Alex and myself, I like to refer to Alex as the food guy and myself as the thought gal. So I really work on that mindset. I know, Alex, now you've got some help here at Blossom, so you've got a whole department, the nutrition department, so it's not just Alex anymore. But again, like when I work with folks from a coaching standpoint, I usually am really working on that mindset shift. Like, what do we need to change up here to make this process successful?
Exactly. And you'd be surprised at how much I talk on mindset to
Yes.
get, to allow yourself to succeed, because our biggest barrier is us,
Yes.
And with all of this, what I like to call digital deluge, we're drowning in the digital age and social media and comparing. It really hurts us, and it really pushes us back to where we are having unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely.
So yes, a lot of, and I'm sure many of you who have spoken to me in the one-on-one, or if you called in and shout out some emails, a lot of it, and I want to say 90% of my response is going to be more mindset to help you get there and managing those expectations, because it is huge. It is huge. So, huge victory for Tabitha. She has taken her weight loss and weight management journey into the next level. You want to tell them about that?
All right. So I had to show Alex a little bit of muscle. So
Yes.
Miss Tabitha Johnson, aka BariBoss, has recently entered into a fitness contest. It's not for weightlifting. It's actually more for transformation, and it's called Summer Shred. So I came in this morning a little excited to show.
Yeah,
Alex.
yo, flex on him. Flex on him.
All right, I gotta show you. I don't know if y'all
Oh,
can see that.
look at that! 100 pounds
So-
down. Now about to step on
Yes.
stage, and to show him what you got. That's absolutely amazing.
I'm excited.
And that's gonna be at how long
So
is
the
that gonna be?
competition is June 24th, and it's really so I've hired a coach. I'm working with her on my diet as well. She's actually a nurse and a former weight loss surgery patient. So she's
Nice.
customized my meal plan, my fitness plan, and I'm in the gym 4 days a week. So
Fantastic.
It's,
That's what I like to hear. I've actually
way
taken
up.
some patients to the stage as well,
Yes.
for bikini, even powerlifting. But then outside of that, of course, it's without the tool, and just staying in that niche. So I know what it's like. I know what it takes, and it is not easy. Okay, it is not easy. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a very strong person. And I hate to say this, but it's true, because I'm talking about myself when I say this, is that you got to be crazy to love this. Okay,
true.
and we're crazy, and I'm crazy as well for wanting that, and you're gonna get to experience, because it's also very rewarding, especially knowing that you are 100 pounds down and now taking it to the ultimate level of stepping on stage to showcase it and be judged. That's where I say that we are our own worst enemies, but then now you're gonna have somebody do that, so you have to be very mentally strong to get there. So let's dive into the questions. We're discussing mindset, we're discussing food, and the most frequent questions that you guys had. And we're not going to go in any particular order, but is there one thing that kind of stands out to you, Tabitha, in terms of you really wanted to address?
So I get a lot of questions from clients about that head hunger versus real hunger. And I know we talked about on the last live that acronym HALT. So am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? I think that's a really good way to address, are you dealing with head hunger, right? Just doing that quick check-in. Again, I've shared a little bit about my story in various platforms, but before surgery, I was hungry all the time, or so I thought. So every emotion that I was experiencing, food became the answer. And so post-op, it's really trying to determine, is this really hunger, or am I actually experiencing something else? Is it potentially a feeling? Am I stressed? Am I working from home and my kids are quarantined and there's just a lot going on? What is really that underlying piece? So I kind of speak to it from the mental side of things, and I know, Alex, you can probably talk a little bit more about those physical hunger signs that we might experience.
And say that acronym again, HALT.
HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I throw an S in there for stressed, so it could be HALT,
Yes.
right?
Hangry or hungry.
Hungry.
It could be angry.
Right.
Hungry, angry,
Lonely, tired.
lonely, tired, and stressed. And that is huge. That is huge. And we can pause on that too, because when it comes to the vertical sleeve, the gastric sleeve, you have you are physically restricted. Number one, you have 80% of your stomach removed, but also you have the hunger hormone removed as well. Okay, now I was actually just responding to an email that somebody was asking about. I thought this was gonna remove my want for food. It does not remove your want for food. This is just a tool. This is not an absolute solution. That was the key word that I saw in that statement, was want. Okay? You still want food, and you cannot, and that hormone cannot replace a lifetime of experiences with food. That's what I talk about in terms of mindset, is that certain people, places, smells, certain times of the year, can induce a very realistic but fake hunger. It's not real, it's in your head. And the best example would be, much like an amputee feeling pain in a limb that no longer exists. It's been conditioned in your brain your entire life prior to this. Now, what I say, and you can correct me. I'm sorry, that was my chair moving, by the way. You can you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as you're aware of it, and that's what this halt has actually brought my attention to, is as long as you're aware of it, it'll be easy to turn off.
Right.
Right? Recognize that you were having a nostalgic moment, you were bored, or this is a routine.
For sure.
And those are all factors that you can assess with that HALT acronym, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. And now your body still needs calories, okay? There's no doubt about that. But reflecting on that mindset and that want versus that need is a very big factor. Now, there are also the physical facts, and that is, did I eat? When's the last time I ate? What does my activity look like? And also, how long ago did you have the surgery? Okay, because you can be having all of these symptoms in a very short amount of time, but the fact of the matter is, we're battling weeks or months versus years of experience. Okay, so that's where we need to let our own body adapt and adjust. And you can always just have some calories via protein shake, protein water, have a piece of jerky or a non-starchy vegetable, munching on some cucumbers or celery or something of that nature. Having a yogurt is going to be very, very helpful, because you are physically restricted. You don't have no, you have a tool to help you manage that. So we need to manage that mental side of things while checking off the check marks in terms of, did I actually eat? Am I getting 60 grams of protein? Am I getting 600 calories? And again, that time period of, how long ago has this? How long have I been battling this? Because again, that want is different, right?
Oh, it's so different. Like, and I tell a lot of my clients too that, I may not crave food the way that I used to prior to surgery, but again, if you put that plate in front of me, that's a whole battle right there, because I have to think about it.
100%.
I have to say, oh, that looks good. Oh, and even right now, it's so funny because I've had to increase the amount of food I'm eating to prepare for this competition.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, there's days where I'm just like, I don't even want to eat because I'm kind of sick of food. It's so much food, because now I've trained myself in these smaller portions and the amount of, the restriction like we talked about. So it's almost like a backwards effect for me at the moment. But also, even just to bring up for those of us that still have a period, right? Sometimes we can have hormonal stuff going on. It might be that maybe we're not really hungry, but we're just dealing with hormonal stuff too. So
yeah, those hormones are huge factor.
Yes.
Huge factor. And you're dealing with a lot of hormones, even with just a very large weight loss. Exactly. In that amount of time as well. Now, just to bring up the point that Tabitha made on changing that mindset, because it's been 5 years, and it took 5 years to get into a mindset of eating a certain way, but now that she's taking the next step in her journey by doing a fitness competition, it changes again. Yes. Okay, so this is where I say I am not opposed to more activity. I am not opposed to getting a passion for powerlifting or bodybuilding or something like this. But in these first 6 months, I don't recommend eating for performance, okay? Because of that mental side of things. And that is, again, a very huge factor, because just as easy as you can develop a new passion for powerlifting or something, you can easily fall off of it.
Right.
But that transition into eating performance changes. So I'm using powerlifting as an example because in that community, it is very common to eat gummy bears before lifts. Okay, now you'll start eating gummy bears before lifts, but then all of a sudden you stop lifting and you're just eating gummy bears. Okay, so that's a huge difference.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to eating performance or including all of those simple sugars for, let's say, long distance running, if you want to do something like that. So there are so many different aspects, but that's where I say your body will adapt and adjust to the lower calories. Just make sure you are getting the adequate amount of protein, because the protein will sustain your metabolism, prevent muscle breakdown for energy. And as I say, if you care about your hair, you're going to eat the protein first. And that's why we outline just the rules for eating is protein first, fill up on veggies, and the sleeve will take care of it. So if you are managing, or you've gone through all of those checklists and you are still extremely hungry, that's where I say counseling.
Right, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think too, to consider, so there's so much that typically is around food culturally. So I mean, and we've talked about this in the past, but especially if I'm early on post-op, I might even be going through a grieving process of the foods that I used to eat. And so recognizing there's going to be possibly some intense emotions. And let's say I was maybe a person that had disordered eating prior to the surgery. I'm definitely going to recommend that you get plugged into a licensed therapist in your area to continue the work on that. Because again, just this surgery does not fix disordered eating. It simply restricts the food that we can eat. Right?
Exactly.
So,
it's a tool, right?
It
This
is
is a tool. It's not an absolute solution. And I'm going to repeat it. It does not take away your want for food. We need to utilize this tool to manage that want.
Right.
Okay. And then replace it with something else. Get active. Get into learn an instrument, right? Learn a new language. I actually, I just bought that Rosetta Stone. Right?
What are you learning?
Tagalog. I want to learn my language. It's shameful for me to say, because I don't want I don't want myself to be the last person in my culture to just like stop speaking the language. So it's practice, but it also takes a little bit of time, and then also just keeping us busy as well, because. And we did learn in the last couple of years, right, with COVID, is that we need to. It's so easy to fall out of the rhythm. It's so easy to fall out of, the routines, and we get stuck in the place that got us here in the first place, which is wherever we're being quarantined at, So that's that happens. Any words on that and managing those, or I guess saying getting busy outside of therapy?
I mean, I think, picking up a habit, whether it's maybe you want to get out with your kids, get active, do something as a family, go bike riding. I've shared on the page that I recently had started Zumba. Now I'm not allowed to do that while I'm training, but so just something to get out and get active. If you like to write, if you want to pick up learning a new language, if you want to take a class, like there's so many different things that we can be doing outside of eating. For many of us, our spare time, for me especially, it was food. So I had to find new things. So there's those wonderful adult coloring books. Maybe you find yourself feeling like you want to snack at night, grab a coloring book, start coloring. If you crochet, if you knit, if you like to create, use your hands, doing something active versus picking up that food. So.
Absolutely. Now that actually ties into one of the questions here, which is stress management post-op.
Yes.
Okay, so what are some of the questions that you get in terms of stressors, and how do you identify them?
Right. So for many of us, obviously these last couple of years, I think we've definitely seen an increase in stress. And so I try to really understand a person's day-to-day routine. And so I kind of break that down and say, well, it looks like you've got zero time for yourself. So when can we build in some time for you? And that could just be like scheduling in a quick 20-minute walk, right? Because we're recognizing that we're just on the go, go, go. We're trying to navigate being in a pandemic, parenting, working, just all of us, right, have been going through it. So building in areas for yourself to de-stress. It could be taking a nap. I don't care. Just give yourself some time to de-stress, whatever that may look like for you.
So when you're saying identifying the day-to-days, a lot of people would say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy to do this. I'm too busy to do that. And I can't because I have so many things I need to take care of. What do you have to say about that?
So I usually say, well, so I have two businesses that I run. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, right? And that's not to say like, oh, I'm so amazing. It's just I have to prioritize what I've got going on. So I think ultimately we have to shift and say, is my health a priority? Because if I want to be all of these things and wear all of these hats, I can't function if I'm not taking care of myself. So that then makes it very imperative for me to decide where's the give. You know what I mean? So case in point, yesterday I got up at 3 a.m. to eat my pre-workout meal and I went to the gym at 4. That was not my lifestyle 5 years ago. But I'm recognizing, okay, these are the things that I want to do to take care of me. So I build it in around my already busy life.
So that's a big key point that I wanted to address is you have to make it a priority. Is your health a priority to you? Because once you identify it as a priority, you will find a way, just as you found a way to do everything else in your life. Okay, so rewind to when if you have kids to when you, let's just say you were pregnant or your spouse was pregnant and I can't have a kid. I'm not ready, right? I'm not ready. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. But guess what? You made the money, you made the time, and it happened because you made your child and your family a priority. When in our mind, it's easy to get past it and to think about what am I doing right now that's going to prevent me from doing this, instead of what do I need to do to make this work.
For sure.
And that's how I like to change the perspective in terms of making your health a priority. Okay. There was actually one question I said, how do you find a good addiction therapist?
Great question. So there is a website called Psychology Today. There's some similar sites like that, but that's one that I know off the top of my head. You can plug in your zip code, and basically you can search for therapists by licensure as well as insurance type. So that is a wonderful site. So you're looking for somebody who's a clinical or just an alcohol drug counselor. So there's LADC, there's CADC, there's LCADC, there's lots of acronyms.
What was that one? It was
So psychologytoday.com.
Psychologytoday.com.
Could be
and it's a good resource to just kind of like plug in to where you'll be able to find what the credential that you're looking for. That would be the answer to that. So yeah, managing stress, identifying, creating priority, because again, once it's priority, you will find the time and you will make the time to knock it out. Okay. Oh yeah, Courtney, I'll put that on there. So let's talk about cross addiction. Okay, I've actually heard that term a handful of times as of lately, and of course, cross addiction comes from, we are all addicted to food, right? And we have to replace that addiction somehow. What are your thoughts on cross addiction? How can we manage that?
For sure. So I'm just going to throw in a little caveat. Not everybody who's had weight loss surgery necessarily has a food addiction. Sometimes I think there's other underlying food issues or health issues that may have caused some of the weight gain too. So I just want to throw that out there. However, I do think that many of us did use food as a coping skill or coping mechanism.
Before you get into what are some, so you said not everybody has a food addiction. There can be some other stuff. Can you give me an example?
So And actually, I'm even thinking of a friend of mine who has not had surgery. So I have a friend who actually is obese and she doesn't really eat much. And so I think what's happening is when she eats, the body is storing it because it's like, whoa, we don't know when the next meal is coming. So some people would look at her from the outside and say, oh, she must be a food addict. But she actually really doesn't eat a whole lot. So I just kind of want to differentiate. Like she also has some thyroid conditions and things like that. Because I just want to hesitate on blanket statements in terms of diagnosing. Just not
Yeah.
that that's what you were doing, but I just want to call that out. However, I think that if many of us were honest with ourselves and we looked at the way that we cope with food, we would probably see that we probably meet some of the criteria. Maybe not a full blown diagnosis. So I just want to throw that out. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I was just, and that's why I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
And talking about, okay, maybe I don't have food addiction, so what else could that be? Was
Right.
my question.
So we do know that there's definitely a link between addiction and trauma. So I think for many of us, so for myself, I started my overeating at age 7. I'd experienced a childhood trauma. Didn't really know it at the time that that's what it was, but that's how I was coping with it. So when we take away our drug of choice, so to speak, now all of a sudden the body and the brain is like, well, wait a minute, you took that away. I need something else to in its replacement, right? So the deal with cross addiction is we just want to be mindful of: am I shopping too much? Am I gaming too much? Am I having sex too much? Am I looking at porn too much? Like whatever the too much could be, it can be anything. Am I on my Amazon too much? Like where is that potentially increasing? And again, it's kind of like that mental check-in halt. I'm just asking myself, so what am I seeking? And I know I've shared my pajama story with people, and I was purchasing just boatloads of pajamas for no real reason.
Yeah.
But I was seeking comfort. So when you get to the underlying reason of whatever that continued behavior is, that's typically that cross addiction that we might be moving into that arena.
Do you have any steps to reflect and kind of make ourselves a little bit more self-aware? Because we can always ask ourselves,
sure.
but then there's also a perspective.
Yes.
What we think is not that much, maybe so much to
Absolutely.
somebody else. So being able to, do you have any type of strategies to identify cross addiction?
So really great question. I would also say if I'm doing something in secret and there's shame attached. So
that's a good one.
I probably need to bring somebody into that, right? So for me, I can tell you that I used to hide when I would binge. I would binge from my car, so people weren't really aware. I could get rid of the evidence, so to speak. So if I know that I'm doing a certain behavior and nobody knows about it, we might be in some dangerous territory. So I would recommend at that point seeking some kind of accountability, maybe initially before you get into professional counseling. Maybe I just say, you know what, guys, I'm on Instagram like 20 hours out of the day. I need some help. And so you enlist some people that you trust to really keep you accountable on that. And so they might say, well, hey, let's give it up for 2 days, right? And I'm just using Instagram as an example because I know like a lot of us are on our phones and stuff like that.
So much.
With the
So
pandemic.
much.
So it's literally just bringing somebody in.
TikTok right now,
Yes.
right? That's the
Exactly.
latest and greatest. And you can even, when it comes to, and that's actually what I was talking about with the digital deluge, you can have, and digital dementia is another one, and also that comparison. But you can always, on your phone, there are some analytics in there to just say, okay, to see how much time you're putting in, and we're not aware that like, that can't be right.
Right.
It says 8 hours. I was like, 8 hours on Instagram or 8 hours on YouTube or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's a lot, and for me, I would probably just ask some people, it's like, is this a lot?
Yes.
Is 8 hours a lot on Instagram? And you'll be able to hopefully have some truth come out and reflect a little bit more too. But if anybody's asking about cross addiction, I feel like that is a good nudge regardless, because it means you are already self-aware of that, to start asking questions and to start trying to find and reflect on, what am I replacing here, and is it healthy? Is it going to be, in the pursuit of happiness, or is it going to be in the pursuit of, you know, issues and despair and problems? So
I think we're talking about stalls.
okay, so anything else with the cross addiction you want to add?
The last piece I do want to say is when you do enlist the support of others, make sure they're not your enabling friends and family, because they might be like, oh, no, it's great, you're not doing too much, right? Because they also might have the same habit. So you're kind of looking for somebody that you know is really going to be honest with you about the behavior that they're noticing. So I just want to mention that.
Yeah,
we all
wonderful.
have our people that
We have our people that they love us, but they may not be the best advice givers.
For sure.
Right? Okay, so let's talk about stalls. All right, now when it comes to the weight stalls, it is in the beginning, in the first 3 to 10 weeks, I would say a lot. If you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, you're healing, you're adapting, you're adjusting. Your body has gone through so much that it needs to heal. Okay, so this is where I like to say we lose our perspective of time after surgery, and that is because we want instant results. We look at today, we don't look at how far we've come, and that is a huge factor. And what I get in terms of emails and calls a lot are simply frustrations, and we lean on the frustration that I haven't lost weight in 2 weeks. But if you look at how long has it been, it's been 8-10 weeks. How much weight have you lost in 8-10 weeks? Well, 40-50 pounds. Is that a victory or is that a failure, is my question. Okay, because you are still adapting, adjusting. This is where you can lose inches and not pounds. Now, if you were to think about cutting your arm, okay, and the amount of energy that the body needs to repair the tissue on a cellular level, it is a lot of work. And now guess what? You are restricted with resources, with water, with nutrients, with calories, and you just had a surgical procedure, and these are weeks, maybe a couple months after years of a certain lifestyle. There's a lot going on, and this is where I encourage you in the beginning or as early as you can to check those inches. And I'm not talking about just your waist, okay? I'm talking about your calves, your quads, your hips, your waist, your bust, your arms, your neck. And then because we also just do one thing, we check our belt. It hasn't really moved, but then you check everything else, like, holy crap, I'm actually 12 inches down all over, you know? So this is, and again, is that a victory or is that a failure? And that can also happen with the same weight. Okay, I can show you, and having come from the fitness side of things, and from the competition side, with body composition and weight, there night and day differences, you know, from a year apart at the same weight, 6 months apart at the same weight. So this is where a lot of factors fall into, because not, you know, 100% is not measured on the scale, right? Your victories is not measured 100% on the scale. So that's where I would encourage you to really reflect on that first. But now, a real stall, okay? Our body adapts and adjusts to consistency, okay? Now, when you are, and this is why we do the metabolic test to manage those things. Now, everybody is different. Your metabolism is a reflection of your lifestyle leading up to this point, and everybody's lifestyle is different. This is where I use the example of two people with the same weight, same height, same age, same gender. So on paper, it's the same person, but why is this person losing a lot more than this person? Why am I failing? We're doing the same exact thing. So-and-so had the surgery on the same day and they're doing more, because it may look the same on paper, but did this paper tell you that this person was, you know, sitting behind a desk for the last 20 years, 40 hours a week, and this person laid brick for the last 20 years, 40 hours a week, the bricklayer is going to lose a lot more, a lot quicker because of that activity, because of that metabolism would be a lot higher. Why are they the same weight? Because this person ate 3 times more than this person to get to that weight. So when you give the same program, one person is gonna lose a lot more. Now, when I say metabolic adaptation, your metabolism will adapt to what is consistent. So if this was your metabolism and this is your calories, if anything above, you're going to gain weight. Anything below, you're going to lose weight, right? But if you were to, let's say, increase your calories consistently for 8, 10 months, your metabolism would increase to become efficient at those calories. But then instead, we go on a diet, right? Before our metabolism can adapt and adjust, we fall off the diet. Before our metabolism can adapt and adjust, we're on another diet. So that's what happens over time. And then as we chronically diet, it becomes easier to gain weight, harder to lose weight. But now with this tool, it takes you down here, okay? So you can only take away so many calories. You can change things up a little bit. Are things actually consistent enough to where you can see a difference? So if you are a year out, okay, this is another frustration that I get and I hear is that I've tried everything. I've cut the carbs. I've done the keto. I've put up the fat. I've done X, I've done Y, I've done Z. So that I would encourage you to reflect on that statement and if you've said that statement before surgery. That was the last time you did say that statement, right? Is because you tried everything except giving your body time to adapt and adjust to one thing. And what this tool has proven is that compliance is the science. For sure. Sitting and allowing the body to move, giving it more than a few days to change it up, and then also maybe even giving it 4 or 5 weeks to adapt and adjust to the change that you're going to do. But not only that, I encourage you to get the log your food again, okay? Because just as, again, your metabolism will change and adapt to the changes in the consistency. What isn't consistent? The only consistent thing is that it is inconsistent, right? We save the calories for the weekends. We save the calories for the night, but in our mind, we see only good. So log your food, and I associate this with a budget. Where's my money going? I don't know. I don't go out. I don't spend. Why is my bank account empty? But then once you do that budget, oh yeah, that's right. I did go there. Same thing with the calories. Yes, you did eat it. Yes, it does have 150, 200 calories. So this is where I say go back to the basics and then we learn what our body needs. And that's how we do the stall. And of course, when I say that our body's consistent and you can only take away so many calories, that's where the exercise comes in. Resistance exercises, utilizing those fast twitch muscle fibers, because you can only do so much steady state cardio. The more muscle mass you have, the easier it is to burn fat at rest, in turn increasing your metabolism, right? What are you doing right now in terms of your activity with the preparation for competition?
So it's 4 days, 2 days push, 2 days pulls. So and I don't lift heavy weights at all. I think I'm only on week 2.5 of training. So I'm doing all kinds of things, and I'm logging all my workouts. I'm logging all my food. My coach gets to see everything that I'm eating. One thing I wanted to talk about as far as the stall, and I hear this a lot from clients, is there's this expectation of, what if I fail at this? Like, I've done all of these other things before, and I just don't think that I'm going to do this right. Like, I think I've messed up. The weight loss has stopped. I must be doing something wrong. And I kind of want to just encourage that's the way that we used to think before surgery, but we have now this whole new tool. So we're kind of coming into this with already this potential negative mindset of I've already failed. Like, this person in the Facebook group is losing, and we had surgery on the same week, and I don't really understand. And so that comparison, trap that we fall into. So I think sometimes I may recommend even a social media fast for a week. Just to see how you do without kind of getting all that information. And I love the Blossom group, so that's usually the one group I'll say, I don't mind if you stay in there, but maybe mute some of the other groups that you're a part of, because there can be a lot of negative feedback from a lot of the different bariatric
Yeah, it
groups.
can be very toxic. It can be
Yes.
very toxic because that's what we want. We want somewhere to vent,
Yes.
and when we're venting, it's, you don't share the positivities.
For
We
sure.
share the negativities, and then make somebody feel a certain way as well.
Right.
So it can be toxic. Not to say that they're all bad. Of course, there are positivities to it because there are encouraging people, and that's what we want. We like the
Yes.
encouragement. That's what we're here. We want to encourage you and give you the right information, and hopefully get out of that negative mindset and
Right.
outside of the digital the digital deluge.
And then I might even say, put away the scale for a week. Just, and I know for me, I used to weigh every single day, and it was just this whole, like, I gotta know, I gotta know, I gotta know. But sometimes, again, having that information, I'm either gonna live or die by that number. So it's just giving yourself a break. Give your body the time to heal. Recognize that you are doing things differently now. You're tracking, following your Blossom binder. If you need to reach out to the Blossom Nutrition Department just to see, okay, have I done my 2 weeks of tracking the Baritastic app? But just know that this is different. This is
Yes,
different than any
exactly.
other weight loss thing that we've tried in the past.
And I've been victim of that as well, weighing every morning, but that's also what I tell you not to do. It will drive you nuts, okay? Because like I said, we lose our perspective of time after surgery, okay? We lose our perspective of time because we think that it's been a long time when in actuality it's been a very short time. And just like I said, imagine cutting your arm and thinking about what it takes to mend tissue
For sure.
on a cellular level. It takes a lot of time. Okay. And then also think about how much time it takes to lose that much weight.
Right.
So for those who are frustrated with 20 pounds, I encourage you to go to the grocery store and pick up a 5-pound bag of potatoes, and then pick up 3 more bags and reflect on how that can disappear from your body. Okay, so it's a huge, and you're like, yes, this actually is gone from my body in
Right.
weeks. Okay,
Yeah.
your body needs to adapt, it needs to adjust, it needs to heal, and this goes from the beginning to later as well, especially if you are working out for the first time or brand new to resistance exercises. You're creating micro tears in the muscle. You are again needing nutrients to heal, to adapt, to adjust. This is where the protein can increase. Okay.
So one thing I do also want to encourage is, let's say we're hyper focused on the scale. We don't think that things are moving. Even looking at some of those NSVs or those non-scale victories, like the fact that for me, when I could first see my feet in the shower, I was like, oh dang, I got some feet. You know what I mean?
Huge
So like
victory.
celebrating those little things, getting to sit in an airplane without the extender seat, being able to be on a ride at Disneyland.
Oh man,
Like
that was
celebrating
something
that.
a patient told me too, coming into with just the pre-op diet and not needing the extender in the airplane. It's like huge
Yes.
victory, and those things are also very great motivators. And even then, the weight loss that came with that wasn't essentially mentally significant, but not needing that that extender was very significant. So those non-scale victories is, I encourage you to really reflect on that and see what you couldn't have done before. If there's anything thinking about the kids or the grandkids that you're playing with, and some of the activities that you do playing outside, or even getting into an intramural league or something like that, just some fun stuff. But yeah, we have some workouts here. People are saying that they like. We got the Pilates, love working out, and it increases the mood as well, right?
Yes.
Helps you. Yeah, talk about what exercising can do
Yes,
for you
so
mentally.
we've talked about this in the past a little bit, but for those of us that maybe are dealing with anxiety or depression, sometimes just even a quick walk around the block can automatically lift the mood. It doesn't take much to change our state of being. And a lot of times I teach my clients, those feelings that we're experiencing are temporary. So maybe you're frustrated, and if you have a Peloton, I'm just going to challenge y'all, hop on the Peloton for 20 minutes. You will be amazed by how quickly that mood shifts because the body is producing those chemicals. And so we shift our mood. Like, I know when I go to the gym, I think my whole family knows that, okay, mom's not doing so well today. She has not exercised. But once I come back from the gym, I'm like, oh yeah, I can take
Yeah,
on
it's
the
a different
world. You
it's
know
a
what I
different
mean?
game, and it's that
So
blood flow,
yes,
that
and the
blood flow.
endorphins and
I have it's part of my routine to actually get some kind of blood flow in the morning as well, whether I hit the gym or if I don't have time to hit the gym, I knock out maybe like 100 air squats and do a few sets of push-ups just to make sure that I'm getting blood flow before I start my day, before I jump in the shower. And I think it's made a huge impact. And it's I just thought of it now because you mentioned that,
Yeah.
but it has been a part of my morning routine for the longest time. It's just to make sure that I get some kind of blood flow in terms of activity,
Absolutely.
even if it's only 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. My personal morning routine starts with gratitude, prayer, and a little bit of activity. And if I do wake up on time, I'm hitting the gym. I do like to hit the gym in the morning, but man, it's been cold, and there's something to be said. I thought I was just so motivated. Yeah, I can hit the gym at 4 a.m., blah, blah, blah. But man, winter hit, and I'm like, no, I want to stay in bed. Give me those covers and let me stay right here. It's been very difficult to get to the gym in the morning, so maintaining that little bit of blood flow is good.
Absolutely. And somebody mentioned meditation. Absolutely. Prayer, meditation, just being still, that mindfulness can also help change the mood. And I would even ask too, what does your sleep routine look like? Because I think we also forget a lot of times if we're not sleeping enough, our mood can definitely be impacted by that, which can then also lead to the food choices that I'm making because I'm not in the best state of mind. So sleep is important.
So when it comes to meditation, talk to me about meditation. Is there a definition for meditation?
So, great question. So, I am a believer, so I'm more faith based, but honestly, any time that we can get still, and meditation does not have to be this whole like super like, it's my therapist tells me, I just want you to go sit outside and stare at a tree for 5 minutes. It can be very simple. It's simply just getting quiet, letting your if you have, for me, my brain never kind of shuts off, so it's always
Me too. Got that
so
ADD.
yes. So when my daughter
Squirrel.
had dance class the other night, I was sitting in the parking lot in the car, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put on a little mommy meditation, and I did it for 10 minutes, and it's just going inward, and you just try to let everything else wash away. Some people it's a lot more structured. It can be done with yoga. So it literally can be whatever you need it to look like. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. It just depends on the time that you've got. But it's a great way to just kind of get quiet and center yourself.
That's awesome. When it comes to the you said mommy meditation. Was that a metaphor or was that an actual playlist?
Great question. I went on YouTube and I just put mommy meditation.
Oh,
and
perfect.
I found this woman that I couldn't even tell you her name to be honest with you, but she was just kind of talking about, hey, if you're in the carpool line, I just want you to close your eyes. And I was like, nice. All right, this is cool.
So check it out, mommy meditation.
It does not have to be so difficult. I know for me, everything's got to be perfect, and like I've just learned, especially the post-op, that you just got to get it where you can fit in. You know what I mean? What makes sense to your lifestyle. So for me, that 10 minutes was perfect. It gave me enough time to reset.
I like it. And just going back to the beginning, you prioritize that. It is a priority, so you can take 10 minutes and it'll be worth it. Especially not just for yourself, but I'm sure it trickles down to everybody else too. Because we can get mean sometimes, right? So somebody was asking about properly measuring. I think I should probably do a video on that because there's this audio as well. But I would encourage to even just YouTube proper measuring for inches where you can, and the measuring sites to show. Otherwise, the only tips I can really give as an audio is measuring on the same spot, like where the belly button line is, using that as a measurement. Right above the nipple, that's a good indicator of where you are, so you know that you're hitting the same spot every time. And then if you are gonna do like your quad or your calf, put all your weight on the opposite leg that you're measuring. So don't put the weight on the leg that you are measuring. I guess as just some quick tips, but otherwise being able to see somebody do it and physically doing it, I would say check out some YouTube videos. But I think that's a great opportunity for us to dish out a video on measuring, since we do give measuring tape in the bag. And then also, let me see, digestive enzymes. Yeah, so we actually just put on a digestive enzyme for on the shelf. If you guys want to check it out on the Blossom shop, if Courtney could put on a link to the Blossom shop on there. And it is not necessary for hunger. Enzymes are actually to help break foods down. So you have your amylase, protease, lipase, which are enzymes that will help break down those materials, the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fats, and it will help with digestion, will help with absorption. For those of you who have gone through a gallbladder removal, which is going to be what stores bile, and what bile is, it breaks down your fat. It's gonna being able to use a digestive enzyme with lipase is gonna help break those down, remove some discomfort, but it's not necessarily to help with hunger. You know, it's gonna help more with digestion and yeah, I guess I would answer that question. Another question do we have here? Or the not where you should be after over a year out now. So getting back on track, okay, if you're not where you should be, the question I have is, where is should coming from? What is and who dictates what you need and what's going to make you happy? Would you agree?
Yes, and I think so. Kind of going back to those expectations, and even just kind of the way some of the questions are, like when we think of what's normal or where should I be, like that's kind of almost placing that absolute. And so I talk a lot about black and white thinking with my clients, and I think some of us we just want exact, right? And in this process, we kind of have to get a little comfortable in the middle somewhere.
Yes.
Because if I'm so hyper focused on this is where I have to be, if I'm not there, then I'm more likely to say, well, screw it, I'm just going to go back to old.
Exactly.
Right?
And if I'm doing this, which is this is being bad, it's like might as well just go all out. Right? No, I'm at McDonald's, I might as well just order something bad. No, there are always options that you could do, even in the spots that are going to cause some temptation or things like that. But when it comes to goals, this is where I say my goal for you is happy, healthy, and not at risk for chronic illness related to weight. Okay, what is your goal? That is the question. And nobody can choose your goal. But what I do encourage is creating smart goals, and that is, specific, measurable, right? Attainable, realistic, and time sensitive, because it allows us to be motivated towards something. And that's what I encourage, and set milestones for those time periods. That way we can again take the proper steps to execute that goal, because once you're satisfied, that's where I say you start to fail. And that's I'm no therapist. I'm just speaking what helps me, right? And what I know to help others is to identify those things, and making sure that we are constantly moving forward. Because again, that's the worst thing someone can say is like, oh, I've reached my goal. You're not, did you reach your goal? It's time to get another goal, okay? Because this is where we say, oh, I deserve a treat. And then all of a sudden we start trickling down the negative side of things and start diving down the opposite, because you felt like you've reached it. But after you reach it, there's maintenance.
We gotta maintain.
There's maintenance, and it's gonna be, and like I said, you are vulnerable now to weight gain because of that metabolic adaptation, right? So, first things first, if you are a year out, reach out, set up a consultation, log your food, okay? Because there is no time sensitive numbers after surgery. It's like, I'm X amount of months out. Where should I be at? I don't know, because I don't know what your activity looks like. I don't know what you've been eating. If I was if I was gonna go to a mechanic and say, hey, I got my car 2 years ago, what's wrong with it? I don't know. Like, what, how have you been driving it? Were you racing? Or was it in the garage this whole time? Did you change the oil? What are you putting? What kind of gas are you using? All of these things we need to make sure that we'd be able to assess, and then get a proper give you some sound proper advice to get you back on track. But if you don't want to go that route, because if you did want to do a consultation, of course, there is a fee, $50 to block out the time. But otherwise, just go back to the basics. Again, log your foods. Make sure you are getting adequate hydration. Make sure you are hitting your 60 grams of protein, staying within the caloric range, and staying active. If any of those things are not checked off, then you're doing something wrong. And ask yourself, how long have I been doing that for? Okay, because and one of the suggestions I make also is to just go back on the pre-op diet to create a control, right? Create a control, that way you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to really set these specific criterias that got you off track in the first place. So something very simple like that is going to be helpful. Do you have anything to add in terms of, I'm a year out, where should I be at?
So I think, even because I'll get this question a lot or comment a lot, that people will say, oh, everything was great until 2 months ago or until 2 weeks ago. So I'm wanting to find out what was working back then and how do we get that back, right? Because ultimately you're the expert in your life. So I just kind of want to know, well, if we had it working before, I think we can do that again. So let's recreate that. There was another point and I just lost it. So I think I'm hungry.
Yeah. So setting boundaries
Yes.
with friends, family,
yeah.
coworkers, post-op.
Yes.
You get this a lot?
A lot.
And what do you say?
So, this really honestly comes up a lot, especially around immediately post-op and then holiday time, because, we have like our friendly food police and, those folks in our family that mean well and, oh, you're getting too thin, or, please eat this, and all of these things. And I think we just have to be comfortable learning how to first identify what our boundary is going to be. Like, am I going to be open about this surgery with everybody? Like, obviously
Huge.
I am. I've created a business around it, so I'm open about talking about it, but that's not the case for everybody. And you don't have to tell anybody about the surgery. Yes, people are going to notice that you're losing a rapid amount of weight. And there's some pat phrases that you can use, when people are like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? You look amazing. Hey, I've just been making some really good choices, or I've been exercising. I've been moving my body. Like, you're not lying, because you truly are doing those things, right? So I think it's understanding, like, where does my boundary sort of end, and where do I allow the person to come to, if that makes sense. And my mentor always taught me, it's easier to start tight with our boundaries and then move loose versus being loosey-goosey and then trying to tighten it up. So what I mean by that is, our friends and family they might be used to us being, the person that we would go out and eat with all the time. And all of a sudden that shifted, and it's changed the way the relationship is, right?
Yes.
So it's them trying to really understand, well, who is this new person? Like, we used to be food buddies.
Yeah.
And so how do I communicate that, right? And letting them know, well, this is my new lifestyle. I'd love to still hang out with you. Let's really make it more about the conversation and not the food.
Yeah, or an activity or something like that. And I've dealt with this on a personal level as well, but I've established boundaries. This is a personal experience. I'm not telling you that you need to do this, but when it came to, let's just say, my very first competition, okay? Very first competition, I was at an age to where, hang out. You go to the bar, you hang out with certain friends, and certain people would say, why don't you just have one? Just have one drink. What's wrong with this? You know, like you're gonna work out. You're already gonna do X, Y, or Z, and this is at a point where there was nothing physically different beyond what you knew me before, and then no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stick with this. This was I don't want to lose. I don't want to fail. Okay, and it's like, all right, fine, you know. And after the fact, we're talking 3 4 months later. It's like, man, that's you. You did that. That's great, man. I'm sorry. I was an a-hole. You know, I was. Man, I was pushing hard, and that's usually what happened. It was like I was pushing hard, man. I'm sorry. This is great. You look fantastic. Now, what do you got to do? You know, so they're gonna ask you why, and then they're gonna ask you how. And that's gonna be the scenario. Same thing with family members. You know, it's like, okay, are you or friends? You know, we used to be buddies, and we used to be eating out, and this and that. It's like, well, I'm on a new journey in my life. Whether you want to say that you had the surgery or not is completely up to you. But you can also say you're on a program. You're on a program that I paid a lot of money for that I don't want to fail. And that is not a lie, right? You hire a coach, you're going to pay money to do that. You're going to follow the rules. It's like, I'm sorry. And this is only going to be 6 months. Right? It's like, is that too long for you? Because it's not too long for me, and I'm willing to put the time and effort because I paid so much money for it. And then they're gonna ask you in 6 months, you know, like what did you do? How was that? You know, and I don't know where you are gonna be mentally in terms of how open you might be with the surgery or the program, right? That's gonna be completely up to you, but you can choose those boundaries, right? And there's always a way around that. And it's like, oh, well, my family's different. I'm Filipino, you know. They're like, why don't you eat? Why don't you eat? And that is how it is in every event, Filipino event that I've been to. And you're taking home food. Yeah, give me the food. It's cool. I don't need to eat right now. It's like, well, why don't you eat more? You know, like I had a big breakfast or I had a big lunch or I have an upset stomach. You know, we don't have to eat right now, but we can enjoy this conversation. I'm just going to stick with this water. I'm going to stick with this protein shake, you know, let it settle down. And then that will pass as well, you know, because again, from just personal experience going through events, yes, it can be torture, but and also at the same time, like, who are you to tell me what I need to be eating right now? I just told you I'm not hungry, you know, so it's like, okay, all right, no problem, no problem. And continue with the party, right?
Well, and I think we even create potentially more anxiety around setting these boundaries because honestly, usually it's kind of a one and done conversation. Like we have it and it's done and everybody gets it and we move forward, you know? So I think it's really just understanding what boundaries do you want to set. The cool thing about boundaries is they can change, you know? So this could be my boundary today and tomorrow, new information, I've shifted. So we're not locked in.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of what I wanted to say on that.
Yeah, choose your boundaries. And a lot of times it's the anticipation of things going wrong that really cause the problem. You know, for the most part, I can't speak for everybody because yes, there are hard conversations and you can't deny that, is that once you identify, you know, that elephant in the room, so to speak, it's like, cool. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me earlier? It's like my other friend also did that. How was your experience? You know, like there's that stigma behind it that we think there's gonna be a problem and there's gonna be a conversation that you don't want to have, but you know, it might not be as bad as you think. You know, so that's where I say either bite the bullet or create your own boundaries and let them know. It's like it's none of your business, right? It could be, but also moms and dads, I guess, can be a little bit different story. But that's where you can still say in any event, I'm not hungry or you're not ready, and you don't have to be ready. You just have to just say it, right?
And a lot of times, just bring your protein with you and
yes.
So
I think that pretty much covers a lot of what we were discussing in terms of the mental side of things, the nutrition side, and the combination of both. And I hope we've answered a ton of your questions. We've been already chatting for what?
A little over an hour.
A little over an hour. Oh my gosh. Time flies when you're having fun.
Good information.
And so, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I would just say I really love the interaction on the Blossom page. So if you have further topics that you want us to talk about, shoot them our way, because I'm sure we can do another recording. So we would love to answer those questions.
100%. We'll do lives again. Again, check out the Blossom podcast, the YouTube videos, a lot of which are not listed. So go into your dashboard for those resources. How can people find you again, Tabitha?
So blossombariatrics.com/BariBoss.
Yes, BariBoss. That's BariBoss. If you have any questions, please give us a call. 702-463-3300, or you can jump on the website blossom.com. Shoot the nutrition department an email for general questions, nutrition@blossom.com. And we got your back. Don't Google, don't guess, just ask. Flex on him again. Flex on him again.
I'm pretty excited about this, guys. My son is like, Mom, you got some guns.
Yes.
Okay, it's hard to show on the camera.
Check it out. There you go. Boom.
Woo.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
can I say peace? Because I like how you say
yes.
it. All right.
Go for it. Peace. There you have it.
Love it.
Bye, guys. We'll see you in the next.
Thank you.
This was another episode of the Blossom Podcast. For more motivation and future episodes with Alex, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any life-changing moments.